Imagine you're a 911 dispatcher in a quiet Pennsylvania town on a cold January evening in 2025. The call comes in just after dark. Gunshots fired, woman down, neighbors screaming. It's the kind of call that makes your heart sink because you know someone's life just changed forever. But when police arrive and start investigating, they discover something that transforms this from a tragic domestic violence case into one of the most bizarre murder stories you'll ever hear. Because the killer's motive wasn't jealousy or money or any of the usual reasons people hurt the ones they love. According to the shooter, he killed his girlfriend of 7 years because a ghost hunting device told him she was planning to murder him and then eat his body. This is the story of Jane White, Jared Wolfe, and how a paranormal meter became evidence in a murder case. Jane White was 46 years old and the kind of person who restored your faith in humanity. She worked as a caregiver, spending her days looking after people who couldn't look after themselves. In her spare time, she created art, paintings, and crafts that she'd give away to friends, because making something beautiful mattered more to her than making money. Jane was also a mother of 2, and everyone who knew her said the same thing. She would literally give you the shirt off her back if you needed it. She was the person you called when your car broke down, when you needed someone to watch your kids, when life got overwhelming and you just needed someone to listen. She'd been with Jared Wolfe for about 7 years. Jared was also 46, and to most people who saw them together, they seemed like a typical small-town couple. They'd go grocery shopping together, attend local events, do all the normal things couples do after being together for a long time. But what Jane didn't know, what nobody knew, was that Jared had been spiraling. Paranoia had been creeping into his thoughts like poison, and on the evening of January 3rd, Jane and Jared went to visit a friend's apartment. It was supposed to be a normal social visit, maybe watch some TV, hang out, nothing special. But at some point during the evening, they ended up smoking something. Jared later told police he wasn't even sure what it was, but investigators found evidence that it was synthetic marijuana, also known as K2 or spice. If you're not familiar with this stuff, it's basically plant material sprayed with chemicals designed to mimic THC. But it's completely unpredictable. One batch might do nothing, another batch might send you to the hospital, and some batches can cause intense, terrifying hallucinations that feel absolutely real. Now, this is where the story takes a turn that's so strange, so completely detached from reality that it's hard to believe it actually happened. Jared had brought something with him that night, a paranormal meter.
Okay.
These devices are sold online and in novelty stores to amateur ghost hunters. They're supposed to detect electromagnetic fields, temperature changes, or spiritual energy. Basically, anything the manufacturers think will appeal to people who watch paranormal investigation shows on TV. At some point during their visit, Jared decided to test his paranormal meter on a statue in the apartment. The device immediately spiked, lights flashing, alarms going off, the whole show. And that's when Jared's paranoid mind made a connection that would cost Jane her life. In that moment, looking at the flashing lights and hearing the beeping, Jared became absolutely convinced that the meter had revealed a horrible truth. Jane and their friends were plotting against him. Not just plotting to hurt him, but planning to kill him and then cannibalize his body. Terrified and completely detached from reality, Jared bolted from the apartment and ran to his car. Jane, probably confused and worried about her boyfriend's sudden panic, followed after him. She likely had no idea what was going through his mind, no clue that he saw her as a threat. Maybe she thought he was having a bad reaction to whatever they'd smoked. Maybe she was trying to calm him down, to get him to come back inside where it was warm. We'll never know what Jane was thinking in those final moments, but we know she opened the car door, probably to talk to him. And that's when Jared raised a handgun and shot her in the chest. Jane collapsed on the cold pavement. Neighbors who heard the gunshot called 911, but by the time paramedics arrived, it was too late. Jane White, 46 years old, mother of 2, caregiver, artist, died on a street in her small Pennsylvania town because a man she'd loved for 7 years thought she wanted to eat him. Here's what makes this case even more disturbing. Jared didn't try to run. He didn't try to hide what he'd done. Instead, he called his brother and told him what had happened. His brother, horrified and probably barely able to process what he was hearing, immediately called the police. When investigators arrived to arrest Jared, he repeated his bizarre explanation with complete sincerity. The paranormal meter had given him a very high reading, he said. To him, this meant Jane wasn't really Jane anymore. Something evil had taken over, something that was planning to kill him and consume his flesh. In his fractured mind, what he'd done wasn't murder. It was self-defense against a supernatural predator. The detectives looked at this ordinary-looking middle-aged man sitting across from them in the interrogation room, calmly explaining how a ghost-hunting gadget had told him his girlfriend was a cannibal, and they realized they were dealing with something far beyond a typical domestic violence case.
The most heartbreaking part of their investigation was talking to Jane's friends and family. What they discovered was that Jane never mentioned feeling unsafe around him, never indicated that their relationship was in trouble. To her, right up until the moment she opened that car door, Jared was just the man she'd been with for 7 years. She had no idea she was looking at someone who saw her as a monster. Jared Wolfe was charged with first-degree murder, third-degree murder, aggravated assault, simple assault, reckless endangerment, and carrying a firearm without a license. The case made headlines across the country, not just because of the tragic loss of life, but because of the absolutely bizarre motive. Legal experts debated whether Jared's drug-induced paranoid delusions could constitute some kind of insanity defense. Mental health professionals were brought in to evaluate him.
The paranormal meter sits in an evidence locker now, silent and powerless. But the damage it helped cause, that damage will echo through countless lives forever. Because in the end, the most dangerous monsters aren't the ones hiding in the dark, waiting to be detected by ghost-hunting gadgets. They're the ones that fear and delusion can create in broad daylight, wearing the faces of people we thought we knew, turning love into something deadly with the pull of a trigger.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Check out my playlist for more true crime, mysteries, and cases that blur the line between reality and the unexplained. And remember, sometimes the shadows are watching you.